Welcome to Who Woke the Bear, and today's bear is Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais has never been one to hold back. Whether he's taking jabs at Hollywood elites or mocking the absurdity of woke culture, he always knows how to hit where it hurts. At the 2020 Golden Globes, he famously tore into the self-righteousness of celebrities, leaving the room stunned and the rest of us cheering from our couches.
So, if you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and f*** off, okay?
His humor doesn't just entertain, it makes you think. Why has comedy, a space once known for pushing boundaries, become the latest battleground for the easily offended? Ricky Gervais has never been one to tiptoe around controversial topics, and that's what makes his comedy so powerful. You see, Gervais doesn't cater to those who get easily offended. He's made it clear that being offended is a personal reaction, not some automatic right that should dictate what can or cannot be said. Just because you're offended doesn't mean you're correct, right?
Well, yeah, well, that's the thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right, you know? It's... offence is about feelings, and feelings are personal. Some people are offended by equality. So what? You know, so you can't second-guess people. If you try and please everyone, you'll please no one.
That's one of Gervais's core beliefs. Comedy, in his eyes, isn't supposed to be safe or soft. It's supposed to poke at uncomfortable truths and make us question things. And if it ruffles some feathers along the way, so be it. He's not in the business of pleasing everyone, because as he says, when you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one. And a quick reminder, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Thanks. One of the tools Gervais masterfully uses to cut through all nonsense of woke culture is irony. Take his jokes about culture appropriation, for instance.
Cultural appropriation, the latest no-no. Now, again, in my day, it was considered a good thing to swap ideas with other cultures, with other nations, to share things with other races, to assimilate. It was the opposite of racist. Now it's racist.
The woke brigade would have you believe that borrowing elements from other cultures is inherently offensive. But Gervais, he takes that and flips it on its head. He uses irony to show just how ridiculous that mindset is, making you laugh while also making you realize that maybe, just maybe, not everyone needs to be so hyper-scrutinized. It's the kind of humor that goes over the heads of those who take things too literally, and honestly, that's part of the fun.
I think we should be allowed to insult robots when it's happening, because we've made them to make our life easier, and that would get things off our chest, because it's bad enough, isn't it, with real people, you're getting in trouble, saying the wrong thing, people taking things the wrong way now, like, oh my God, oh, I made Fat Linda cry today, oh.
Now, when it comes to dealing with offense, Gervais makes no apologies. He firmly believes that offending people is not only acceptable, but sometimes necessary, especially when you're dealing with serious controversial issues. Think about it. If we avoid topics like gender, race, or politics just because they might upset someone, what's left to joke about? As Gervais puts it, humor is a way to cope with bad things in life.
We only call her that behind her back. I'm sure people didn't used to get offended all the time when I was little. I might be remembering it wrong, but not grown-ups, not your parents, not your grandparents. They grew up dodging bombs and their firstborn having polio and the menfolk dying at 50 of lung disease. They could take a fucking joke, right? It was all about the wind-up. I used to wind up my mum all the time. This is a true story. When I went off to university, after about a week, I phoned home. My mum answered. She went, "Hello?" I went, "It's Ricky." She went, "You all right?" I went, "Not really. I'm in hospital. I think I'm blind." She went, "What?" I went, "No, I'm only joking." Right?
He's not here for the fragile egos of a few, he's here to entertain millions of people who still appreciate comedy with a bite. Ricky Gervais doesn't shy away from calling out the hypocrisy that runs rampant in woke ideology, and honestly, that's part of what makes him such a legend. The man is all about freedom of speech, especially in comedy, and he's made it clear time and time again that the so-called woke culture is one of the biggest threats to that freedom. Think about it. Comedy has always been pushing boundaries, saying the things that most people are too afraid to say, and making us laugh while forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths.
Many talented people of colour were snubbed in major categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood foreign press are all very, very racist. So,
but here comes the woke crowd, wagging their finger and telling us what's off limits. To Gervais, And let's be real, to anyone who values free speech, that's not just annoying, it's dangerous. Take for instance the whole dead-naming controversy with Caitlyn Jenner at the Golden Globes. Gervais made a joke about Jenner's transition, referring to her by her previous name.
I'm going to be nice tonight. I've changed. Not as much as Bruce Jenner, obviously. Now Caitlyn Jenner, of course. What a year she's had. She became a role model for trans people everywhere, showing great bravery in breaking down barriers and destroying stereotypes. She didn't do a lot for women drivers, but you can't have everything, can you?
Now, the woke warriors were quick to grab their pitchforks and accuse him of some grave sin. They acted like Gervais was out to personally attack Jenner when in reality, he was just making a joke about a public figure's very public transition.
This is my second crime. I say, she hasn't changed, right? She's always been a woman because she's always identified as a woman, and that means she's a woman. Fine, if that's the rules, you are what you feel. If you feel you're a woman, that makes you a woman. Cool,
Here's the kicker. Gervais didn't back down. He didn't apologize or issue one of those "I'm sorry if I offended anyone" statements that we've come to expect from celebs caught in the crossfires of woke culture. Nope. Instead, he doubled down, making it clear that humor has to be able to address these kinds of topics. After all, Jenner's transition was headline news. Why should it be off limits for comedians? If we can't joke about something that's already in the public eye, then where does it end? This ties directly into Gervais's larger defense of comedy. He's a firm believer that nothing should be beyond the reach of a good joke, whether it's identity politics, race, sexuality, or other sensitive subject. And why shouldn't comedians be allowed to touch on these topics? Comedy is one of the few spaces left where people can be honest without fear of being silenced. But the woke mob seems intent on taking that away. They're constantly trying to control the narrative, deciding what's okay to laugh about and what's not, all while claiming they're protecting marginalized groups. Gervais, of course, sees right through this. He knows that comedy, especially edgy comedy, isn't about punching down or attacking vulnerable people. It's about making us see things differently, sometimes through shock and often through laughter.
If I'm bringing someone down, if I'm cancelling someone because the tiniest thing they did 10 years ago, think how perfect I must be. That's what they're trying to say. They're trying to get one-upmanship to make themselves look better.
Ricky Gervais is in that rare category of comedians who are simply too big to cancel. Like Dave Chappelle, he's built such a massive loyal global fan base that no amount of outrage from the woke brigade can bring him down. The truth is, when you got millions of fans worldwide who love you precisely because you don't cater to political correctness, you become a rebel and somewhat untouchable. It's like you're trying to throw stones at a tank. It's just not going to work. The people who go after Gervais for being offensive or insensitive don't realize they're just fueling his fire. They rant on social media, demand apologies, and try to get him canceled, but all they really do is give him more material for the next stand-up special.
Oh, women. Not all women. I mean the old-fashioned ones. You know, the old-fashioned women. Oh, God. You know, the ones with wombs. Oh. Those fucking dinosaurs.
In a world where everyone seems terrified of saying the wrong thing and getting canceled, Gervais just keeps doing what he does best, speaking his mind without a filter. Gervais offers a breath of fresh air. That's why people keep coming back to him. He doesn't hold back. And that's exactly what his fan base loves about him.
I love the new women. I know the new women. They're great, aren't they? You know, the new ones we've been seeing lately. The ones with beards and cocks. They're as good as gold. I love them.
Ricky Gervais doesn't miss a beat when it comes to the absurdity of the cultural appropriation debate. He's one of the few comedians who isn't afraid to call out how ridiculous it's become to police who can wear or what or cook which dish. In his usual style, he mocks the entire idea that cultures should stay in their own lanes, reminding us that throughout history, cultures have borrowed, shared, and assimilated with one another. That's how progress works, right? But according to woke culture, if you dare to appreciate or embrace something outside your own ethnicity, you're automatically problematic. Gervais isn't buying into that nonsense, and neither should we. Take his references to Gwen Stefani's dreadlocks and Jamie Oliver's authentic jerk chicken recipe. These are perfect examples of how the woke mob finds outrage where none exist. Stefani, a white pop star, wore dreadlocks in a music video. and suddenly the culture police come out in full force to accuse her of appropriating black culture. Meanwhile, Jamie Oliver, a celebrity chef, had the audacity to cook jerk chicken, a Caribbean dish, and sell it as authentic. The backlash. People accused him of stealing from a culture that isn't his. Gervais loves highlighting these moments because they show just how absurd the whole debate has become. Are we really saying people can't cook or wear things from other cultures without facing backlash? By that logic, should we all just stick to the foods and styles that belong to our own ethnic backgrounds? Gervais points out how utterly unproductive and frankly divisive this line of thinking is. What Gervais really drives home is how the woke obsession with labeling everything as offensive only serves to divide us further.
No, it's the old-fashioned with it. And now the old-fashioned, they go like, oh, they want to use our toilets. Why shouldn't they use your toilets? For ladies. They are ladies. Look at their pronouns.
Instead of encouraging culture exchange and appreciation, it shuts down conversations and creates even more barriers between people. The idea that sharing or appreciating something from another culture is inherently wrong is, in Gervais's view, ridiculous. It's the complete opposite of what we should be striving for in a multicultural society. Cultures have always influenced each other, and that's how we've come to enjoy so many of these things we do today. Gervais mocks the self-righteous of those who claim to be defending marginalized groups when, in reality, they're just gatekeeping and making everything about race and identity. His audience gets this, and that's why his take on culture appropriation resonates so strongly. People are tired of walking on eggshells, worrying they might accidentally offend someone by enjoying something from another culture. Gervais brings a common-sense perspective, reminding us that all culture exchange isn't theft. It's a natural part of human interaction. The woke culture's attempts to turn everything into a battleground over race and identity only highlight how out of touch they are with reality. Gervais calls it out for what it is: divisive, patronizing, and frankly, exhausting.
What about this person isn't a lady? Well, his penis. Her penis, you fucking bigot! What if he rapes me? What if she rapes you? You fucking turd!
So what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with the latest heated videos. Thanks.